We just talked about how Kang the Conqueror is likely to be introduced in the Loki Disney Plus series, but Charles Murphy just put out an article that speculates that Owen Wilson could be Kang in the show. What? What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Do me a favor and smash that like button like the Hulk, and let's get into this craziness. Owen Wilson as Kang. Oh my God. No!
Wow. Flippers and all. Wow. Wow. Wow.
This was just published on Murphy's Multiverse.com. That is friend of the channel Charles Murphy's website, which you should definitely be checking out for a bunch of good scoops and awesome speculation. But this is one of his segments that he calls Connecting Imaginary Dots. Now, I want to be clear here. These segments are speculation, but they are based on a lot of things that Charles is hearing. And so I find them fascinating, but they are not scoops. This is not confirmation that Owen Wilson is Kang, but I want to read through this article and we will freak out together about the mounting amount of evidence that suggests that Owen Wilson will indeed be Kang the Conqueror. Now, I'm not going to read the full article. You should go to murphysmultiverse.com to check out the full article, but I am going to talk about some of the most interesting parts of this article. We will talk about Charles' speculation here, and then I will go to Speculation Town about his speculation. It's like a speculation inception video. All right, so here we go. Let's read from the article. Charles says, I'm on the verge of tears as I write this. Arriving at this conclusion, no matter how speculative in nature it may be, is the thing my own recent personal nightmares are made of. However, as information has continued to make its way through my inbox and my phone, I've forced myself to at least accept this as one possible outcome of many. Owen Wilson may just be playing the role of Kang the Conqueror in the upcoming Marvel Studios streaming series, Loki. Recently, Daniel RPK revealed that the series, now in production, was set to introduce the Master of Men to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and if we are being honest with ourselves, there is plenty of evidence to support the insertion of Kang into the MCU in this series. As many of you know, the production company for this series is called Limbo Productions 1 LLC. In the comics, Limbo often served as a home base of sorts for Kang, all the Kangs really, and plays a large part in his own personal story. While we don't know specifics about the series, we do know that Loki will see the titular trickster travel through time and become an influence on human history. All sorts of times and locations are rumored, some of which, Egypt and Times Square, could easily be tied back into places that were quite important to Kang in the comics. Finally, the events of Avengers Endgame not only put the finishing touches on the Infinity Saga, but also opened multiple storytelling pathways for the future of the MCU. And, as Tony Stark said, when you mess with time, it tends to mess back. In summary, I don't think anyone will be entirely caught off guard if Kang is introduced to the MCU in the near future. However, ... Owen Wilson as Kang the Conqueror would have been up there with the absolute longest of long shots. It's not something anyone would have asked for, and it's certainly not something fans of Lord of the Seven Suns have had their heads set on for some time. So why am I, someone who finds Wilson's involvement in the MCU an affront to my fandom, connecting the dots that lead to an actor I am not a fan of, assuming the role of a comic book character I've been waiting to see on screen for roughly a decade? Because there are at least two facts out there that started my mind down this pathway, and as awful as it sounds, I want to offer the evidence up to the rest of you so that you can think it over for yourselves. Thanks, Charles. We'll do just that. We know Wilson's role in Loki is a major one. It's a lead role, and while it's probably a very common occurrence with many of the actors who sign on for these Marvel Studios Disney Plus series, Wilson's contract includes an option for a to-be-determined number of film appearances. As I said, film options are likely the case for many cast members, but I do find it interesting that Wilson's contract leaves it open-ended. It indicates to me that not only can we possibly rule out an obscure character like Justice Peace or another member of the TVA, but also that Marvel Studios wants to lock Wilson into place for the next 3 to 5 years. But at this point, they aren't locked in as to what films they might use him in. This jives with some other information I've been hearing recently that some changes changes to the future of the MCU took place as recently as October of 2019, which is why until recently we didn't have a confirmed Captain Marvel sequel, and we still didn't know just what to expect in 2022 and beyond. It's possible that those decisions were very recently made or remade, and that Kang now plays a large role in them. Admittedly, that's not very good evidence, and since this is just a speculative piece, it doesn't really have to be, but there is one more thing of interest. We know that while Loki is using Atlanta as its home base so that they can use the stages, they'll be going on location all around the US over the next several months. Wilson's character, whoever it may be, is set to appear in at least 5 episodes and will be traveling to locations with star Tom Hiddleston. Going on location means potentially exposing your leads to fans and paparazzi, and I am told that Marvel Studios is taking every precaution to make sure that Wilson's character is not revealed during these on-set location shoots because it would be considered a major spoiler. Again, if he's playing a character such as Justice Peace, someone heavily speculated on since the TVA was revealed during the big game spot, I'm not sure the studio would be very worried about him being seen in costume. However, if Wilson's costume looks anything like the very unique getup Kang likes to trot around in, you can see why they wouldn't want that out there. Okay, so a couple of really interesting things in the article, things that I want to sort of speculate about as well. Like I said, this is a speculation inception sandwich. Now, if we put Charles' personal disliking of Owen Wilson aside, even though I think it's quite hilarious, it is really interesting that they think it's going to be a major spoiler if this character is seen, right? If he's on location, if he's doing 5 episodes and he's in this big time major role, and they really don't want his character to be spoiled, all signs do point to something like Kang. I mean, we just talked about this yesterday, but it really seems like, why would you even introduce Kang unless he was going to be a major villain for the Loki series? I also think it's interesting that Charles talks about how major changes happened to the MCU as late as, or I guess as recent as October of last year. That to me smells a lot like Spider-Man Fallout. As I told you guys, I think once the Spider-Man and Sony thing fell apart, they made major changes to the MCU, and I personally believe that they had way more stuff that they could have shown at both D23 and San Diego Comic-Con of last year, but they chose not to. So with the film options on the contract for Owen Wilson, the fact that all these changes are happening, it could actually all line up that Owen Wilson will literally be Kang the Conqueror in the MCU.
Wow, I sort of got screwed on the old bedroom selection. Every room's like 4 times as big as mine.
Now, let me be clear. Although I don't dislike Owen Wilson as much as Charles Murphy does, which I find hilarious, I'm still of the mind that, like, no, don't do that. Owen Wilson can't be Kang. And I think the main concern here is that they're going to do something like what they did with Jeff Goldblum for the Grandmaster. The Grandmaster's a pretty crazy character in the comic books, and they go full Goldblum with him and make him super goofy and cheeky as a character in the MCU. Now, it works for the Grandmaster, but Kang the Conqueror is a badass dude. He is a crazy powerful, very important character to the MCU. I showed you guys clips on yesterday's video because he's amazing, and there's just so much good stuff with him from animated shows where he is the Kang that we know from the comic books. If they do Owen Wilson and they choose to make him sort of a gaggy, kind of hilarious Owen Wilson version of Kang, I'm not going to be a fan. Like, I'm not going to be a fan of that. I will even not be that much of a fan if they do what they did to Ultron. Now, I think James Spader is great. I thought he did very well as Ultron. But again, it's just a little too Tony Stark. It's just a little too cheeky for me. That's not exactly the Ultron I remember for the comics. Ultron from the comics is ruthless and brutal, and that's the version I want to do. So if they're doing a version of that, even if it's like somewhere in between Grandmaster and what they did with Ultron, I'm still not going to be a big fan of it. However, it could be possible that Owen Wilson is perfect for this role. There could have been some screen testing done. Owen Wilson could have wanted to do something different, right? He might want to be very serious in this role and be brutal, and maybe it actually works. Maybe we'll totally buy it, and he would be great in the role. It could also be interesting if his Nathaniel Richards self, who perhaps they run into during a certain part of the show, is actually more Owen Wilson than Kang the Conqueror, and he slowly becomes Kang the Conqueror. That I could be into, but again, I don't know enough about Owen Wilson's body of work to like point out some stuff and be like, oh no, this performance over here, that's the range we're looking for. That would be a good Kang the Conqueror. All I've seen him in movies is the wow guy, the silly guy. He's Owen freaking Wilson. And so, Marvel fans, I pass the question off to you. I pass the speculative baton over to you guys. Let me know in the comments section, what do you think about Charles Murphy's article here, the evidence that he has put forward, the fact that he thinks it is possible that Owen Wilson could be Kang the Conqueror, and then what do you think about Kang the Conqueror possibly being portrayed by Owen Wilson? Would that be the worst thing ever, or did you see how it could work out? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. And now let's shout out Sir Noir. Kang's first appearance as Rama Tut was indeed Fantastic Four number 19, but he showed up as Nathaniel Richard in Avengers number 8. So shout out to you, Sir Noir, and bonus points for your specificity. Now let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. I want to know, what is the name of the Marvel character that is actually a far distant future version of Kang the Conqueror? Very cool character. Maybe we'll see him in the Loki series as well. But the question remains, what's the name of the far, far future version of Kang the Conqueror in Marvel Comics? As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.